In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
Hey, Jack, I know you.
Hey, fancy meeting you here.
Yeah, same place.
Same place,
same
time. Although I'm not sure. We could be in a different reality.
An alternate universe?
Yeah, I've been doing that thing in my sleep again, where I'm visiting different parallel me's.
Have you ever had one where you like the Birdman from that Michael Keaton movie? What movie was that?
Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
It was that weird movie where he was like a bird. And he had these like weird interactions with people, and it lost me halfway through. But yeah, Michael Keaton was in it.
He's an actual bird?
And he like turns into a bird.
Oh.
I want to say it's like called Birdman.
Okay. No, I don't know that one. I'm surprised that one got by me. I know the movie Birdie, which is based on a book by the same name, which is a great book. The movie adaptation was a little rough around the edges, but my mom read that book. It's late 70s. I don't know when it came out. I don't think she read it in the late 70s and shared it with me at an age when I should have been reading something more like Greenfeet or Pug, which were the old picture books they gave you in grade school just to learn how to say one-syllable words, and here I am reading whatever that was. But
yeah, it was Best Picture in 2015, Birdman.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why it came out in the last 25 years. That's why I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so, and it won an Academy Award, so that's probably why we haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's definitely a reason why we haven't seen it. Birdie was made in 1984, the movie that is, and it has Matthew Modine in it. Was directed by a fellow named Alan Parker. Nick Cage is in Birdie. He actually is one of the main characters. It's one of his earliest roles was in that movie Birdie. Brief synopsis from, who is this? IMDb. Billy returns from the Vietnam War scarred from the horrific experiences of battle. He's also damaged due to what he saw that shut himself off from reality completely, imagining that he is actually a bird. Birdie's confined to a mental hospital where the doctors are at a loss to see how to treat him. It's truncated from there. I can't see it. But anyway, like I said, the movie leaves a little something to be desired over the book, but I highly recommend that read. Birdie. It's not a damn golfing movie either. So don't go running home to whoever and say, "Oh, I heard about this great movie. We got a great double feature coming up this weekend, Dottie. We're gonna watch Tin Cup and then Birdie, this movie I heard about on this podcast." Like, no, you're gonna be disappointed.
Starring Nicolas Cage. Yes.
Nick Coppola before he changed it.
Nick Coppola.
We've talked about that before, I know.
Yeah, we have.
His lineless appearance in Fast Times at Ridgemont High when he was billed as Nick Coppola, but then he changed it right after the filming of that movie. He changed it because he was sick of being called a Nepo baby because he was Francis Ford Coppola's nephew. And so he dropped the Coppola and went for Cage.
Because he didn't want to be put into a box. He didn't want to feel like he was trapped in one character his entire professional career.
Have you heard of Longlegs?
No.
The latest Nick Cage movie, he plays a psychopath, a killer.
Oh, yes. I've seen the previews to that, but I haven't seen the
previews?
Yeah.
So if you've seen the previews, that's all you need to see. That's all Nick Cage is pretty much in it. Is if you've seen the previews. It was quite disappointing, actually.
Not a good one.
my significant other was, and she's the horror fan too. We were both a little bit like, we were expecting more Cage. Come on. But there was a lot of other stuff. The fact that Blair Underwood was in it, and it even said it in the credits, and then the movie was on for like a half an hour, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's Blair Underwood. I couldn't believe it. Blair Underwood was a black actor who played in L.A. Law years ago on television in the mid-'80s. I mean, I remember, for some reason, I remembered him. But he plays something vastly different from the character he did then. He's not as slick and polished as he used to be. He's kind of gruff. But anyway, yeah, so there's all that. It's been a little while since we missed a week of Conclave. Speaking of which, they're busy electing a pope as we speak, which is a fascinating process, I've always felt, because you can think that the same thing is going on certain like city streets in New Jersey and Philadelphia if enough people are smoking in one area, because you know how they put out the plumes of smoke that are different colors when they're still in conclave, and then when they finally decide, it's a different color. So it's like they've switched brands. But anyway, we're going to have another pope, and we're sitting on whether this is the one that's supposed to bring in the end of times, because that's part of several different prophecies that are linked to the end of days, is that we'll get a pope who is of a certain name or a certain background. And trust me that doomsday conspiracy theorists have tied the last 7 to this is the end, and so far nothing. So we're still waiting.
Times that the end is near.
Yeah. So anyway, we mentioned that because it always makes me think of George Carlin. He did a special. I want to say it was something about, I don't remember the name of it. He was in New Jersey, and which is close to where he's born, in New York. So he knows it well. But they had this ridiculous background when he was performing on stage. And one of it was this house. It looked like a hobbit house, a much bigger hobbit house, kind of this haystack house almost. And it had smoke billowing out of this old school chimney the whole night that he was there. And about 3/4 of the way through the show, or 3/5 of the way through the show, he stopped down and said, I just want to point out, in case you hadn't noticed, while we've been on stage tonight telling jokes, we've also been electing a pope. So the smoke is pluming up once in a while, and just like, and of course, half the people in the audience laugh because only half of them get it, and then the rest get an education. Which, what the hell is he talking to? I was like, okay, well, here's a learning experience. I
want to say that was his one of his HBO specials, because that was when I actually discovered George Carlin, and I remember sitting with my dad. We were watching TV. And it must have been a free HBO weekend, because in my household, we didn't pay for extra fancy channels like that. But we were watching HBO, and this old man was cursing. And I just went, who is this guy? And he explained to me, his name's George Carlin. He was a comedian in the 70s. And after that moment, I was hooked.
Yeah, that's a good one, too. That's a really funny one, as I recall. So
I think that's the one.
I recall it quite well.
Is that the one where he goes off on children, and he's like, "F the children"? And remember, this is Mr. Conductor talking. I know what I'm talking about.
No, that one's a little bit later, I think. He was always irreverent about general society, but then when he started to get older, the bitterness really, it became very acrid, very caustic, and even to the point where it would kind of turn me like, oh, George, that's even getting me, of all people, like into a corner. But he loved that. And I always related to that too, that pushing the envelope until there's no further space to push. But we love George. He was awesome. So
one of a kind.
So I know the last time that we had sat down and done this, we didn't get a chance to talk about the bringing back. I wanted to talk about what you think about this bringing back the barred wolf thing. This deal where now Jurassic Park is becoming a real thing. And don't think that we're not going to move. If we're already on sheeps and wolves, because isn't it funny? Dolly seemed like it was forever ago. And it's just they're not going to try this again because it didn't get them anywhere. Oh, no, they're tinkering like mad. And so the next thing you know, we don't roll. I mean, I'm expecting we roll out something much smaller, and forgive me, all creatures great and small are of equal merit, but something far more insignificant in the public's perception. I'm thinking, scientists have cloned the the Gurfnum snail, a small, creature, a small mollusk that's found at the bottom of, this snail went extinct over 70 years ago, but has been resurrected by science. Something like that. I'm thinking they're going to bring back a worm, a snail, a creature that's fairly simple by biologic design.
Yeah, the dire wolf. I'm glad you brought this up.
Dire wolf.
Yeah.
What did I call it?
The dire wolf.
Yeah, dire wolf.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought this up because this was something that popped up on my radar a few weeks ago. Not necessarily because of the dire wolf, and that they brought it back into existence, and the two wolves are now going to live the rest of their life on this extinct animal kingdom, where they will not have any. I guess, contact with humans and, what a life that they will live on this huge palatial park, right? But no, they've also started breeding these mice that are going to now become the missing link between the woolly mammoth.
Oh, yes, of course. We discussed this because they jumped right to that as part of all these stories about the dire wolf. I called it the barred wolf, didn't I? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. That's why we have... That's why we have editing. That's why we paid the producer.
Then they call it the dire wolf, of course, because at least they're being honest about the times we live in based on what they're doing, right? So
they're very uncertain times that we live in.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, yeah, and they just became that way, like overnight. Like Tuesday was the first uncertain time that ever happened, and now it's a perpetual thing. What are you going to do? So. Exactly. It's every fucking commercial that ever has been for financial investments or insurance in these uncertain times. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, don't get me started on that. Yeah, I don't know about this. Now, the last I knew, you can't clone or do whatever they're doing. I know they don't like the term clone now. It's supposed to be biologically engineering or reproducing or replicating or something they want us to say instead of clone. They're always training us to do their cabin speak. They always want us to do their vernacular so that it dumbs it down and doesn't say what it really is. It's cloning. You're fucking around with something that you shouldn't be probably messing around with. But the last I knew, you couldn't clone or replicate a biological entity. You couldn't actually take an organism and do this and without it being completely sterile. You can't make, for example, a male dire wolf and a female dire wolf and have their parts work in concert so that they can make a batch of little dire wolves on their own. It's not the way that it works. They have to continually manufacture these. It's because it's almost like Monsanto. It's like God being Monsanto.
Exactly, right?
Like the seeds we've talked about this, the seeds in the store where you can't buy a red pepper and then go home and plant your own red pepper seeds. They've rendered them sterile. They'll grow to being a pepper and they're seemingly perfectly fine to eat and they taste like a pepper and they look like a pepper.
The snozberries look like snozberries. They taste like snozberries.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm hoping that's the case because you wonder about catastrophic generational failure. I do anyway. If you actually get to the point where you can take two organisms, one of each gender, and then stick them in a room for long enough until they go at it and there's a gestation and a birth, and then suddenly there's generations of this. And then, like I said, when does somebody pull the Jenga block that collapses all of it? Because that's what happened with Dolly's individual genetics. They just collapsed. She was not of natural origin. And so therefore she had a lot of issues with immunity and all kinds of things. She just didn't work because she's a mutation. She's not supposed to exist. We're not supposed to be doing this. And that was, forgive me, but God's way of saying, stop fucking around with this. Who knows what is going to take next? I mean, we've all seen Jurassic Park. That was a pretty big stop fucking around with this, but we're going to get there. If they could, and that's what's That's what's so sickening. See, that's what's so disgusting. It's like I told my coworker when we were talking about this. Of course, it's done, and then all of the news stories that are bandied about and thrown in front of our faces are about the miracles of science and bringing back these creatures that generations before us were so stupid and haphazardly treated and drove to extinction. And now we're going to be able to make up for that horrible error. These erroneous times that we've lived in for centuries are gone, scrubbed away, because now we have technology. We can fuck around with things and bring them back and feel better about ourselves because now they're in the world again. And yet all of us that are realists sadly know, bullshit. You want to make Jurassic Park. You're going to breed all these animals and bring them back to be a theme and talk about a fee and the T-shirt sales and all the other shit. I mean, my girlfriend and I just went to the zoo and it was $100 to get in. This place is going to be $1,000 easy, and that's for low time passes when there's a rainstorm out off season. It's like I told him, the woolly mammoth, this mouse, they'll bring the woolly mammoth back so they can slaughter it en masse so that Carl's Jr. can offer the mastodon burger with fries and a Coke for $5.79 at the drive-thru. That's what they're doing. I don't know, absolutely no faith whatsoever in humanity for as long as capitalism exists, that it's not going to be absolutely run into the ground from the moment it occurs, if not having been previously preconceived. Like, this is already open and shut. The Mastodon burger at Carl's Jr. or Arby's or wherever it is, sliced roast beef is back at Arby's. It's going to be replaced with sliced Mastodon is back at Arby's. Now, it's coming. The day is coming, and you know that that's the end product of this. So, of course, I hate it because, look, they're gone. And if we did it, well, that's just part of our karma, and that's all there is to it. We're gone. So how about taking a lesson and trying to protect what's left so it doesn't happen to any other species? A new species or an old species that's been here for a while goes extinct. I want to say there's one a week or something like that. It's crazy. We lose a plant or animal species altogether, never coming back. But now, let's put a few drops of Miracle Grow on it, and you're back. So,
Dr. Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum's character in Jurassic Park was the first thing that I thought of when I saw this. Do you remember that monologue that he had when they're all talking about the coupon day and how there's going to be like discounts and then yep. He pipes in, he chimes in.
Everyone in the world has the right to enjoy these animals.
Sure, they will. What, we'll have a coupon day or something.
Gee, the lack of humility before nature that's being displayed here staggers me.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
Perfectly said. And then, of course, the guy who's responsible for bringing them back, the surrogate father.
Yeah, the Scottish, yes.
He's one of those guys. It's like these guys that have done this. Now, they're so lost in just the desire to do it that they don't care. And that's the problem. We go back. I mean, Robert Oppenheimer's birthday was yesterday as we're recording this. So we go back to the atomic bomb. All of the models that they drew on the chalkboards back in the 40s when they were looking to build the A-bomb suggested strongly that if they did this, it would create a chain reaction that would destroy every molecule, every particle in the universe. Every atomic particle would be destroyed, and therefore everything along with it. We would cease to exist. And they did it anyway. So I think we're in the same I know we're in the same territory. We're in these guys that they're hung up on, they're crazy. Let's do it because we want to see if we can. And then suddenly we get a jolt from somewhere that reminds us, stop fucking around with things. And that's what we're due with if we bring the Mastodon back for, double woolly mammoth burgers at Carl's Jr. and all the things that go along with it, and the dire wolf. So what are they gonna, like you said, what are they going to do with these things? Because what good are they? We still have this debate up here where we live in the Northwest with grizzly bears and wolves that are not extinct, but they want to put them back where they don't live anymore because life got too rough for them. They don't belong there anymore because the human footprint got to be the size of Shaquille O'Neal's sneaker. It's ridiculous. So they want to bring them back. And then, so they put them back. It's like wolves. We talked about this, I think, one of our very first episodes of Existence Brewing. They put wolves back on the landscape, and then all they do is fuck around with them constantly. They shoot them, they move them, they harass them.
Or the grizzly bear. That's the other one that we were talking about. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, well, the grizzly bears, they were once prolific in this area. Were they though? Because if they were, they would still be here. And one of the things that I've always argued is it's like, why wouldn't you look at a place where grizzly bears thrive and ask yourself, why are they thriving here? No, we're gonna take a bunch of grizzly bears from a place that they're thriving, and we're gonna relocate them into a place where they've gone into extinction. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, and they constantly mess with them, because to me, the whole idea, if you're gonna put an animal somewhere, or you're messing with it to a degree as it is by just moving it around or placing it on the landscape where you want it. First of all, you're playing a game of Monopoly where you're deciding that the grizzly bear is the thimble or the wolf is the car or whatever the fuck it is, or the top hat. You're playing with things that aren't natural to begin with. But if you're going to make that move, the least you can do is just let them be. Just let them be. Try to have some empathy for how you would feel if you were in that chess game. Somebody comes and plucks you off the landscape and puts you somewhere else and expects you to live in some kind of animal diaspora. Okay, well, that's going to be hard enough. But then they come in and mess with you constantly. When you start trying to acclimate to the environment, then suddenly it's, well, no, there's too many of them and they're bothering the ranchers. And so we're shooting this one, but we're leaving this one. We're going to move this one and we're going to use special tactics to, come on, that's not free. They're never going to be free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Honestly, they'd be extinct, or at least extinct within this particular region. They no longer be here than to do that to them, because that's not free. And you wouldn't want to live that life. So why would we expect them to? But again, a lot of the fish and wildlife people I've met, a lot of the wildlife biologists, seems like they got their head on fairly straight, and they're in there. They are the same way. The landscape is an ant farm for their fuckery. They want to go out and just mess with stuff, because life is one big natural experiment to them that they're in control of. And it's a weird thing. It's like dog breeders when you meet them, when you think, they're really into the breed. They love their dogs. Not in the same way. They're breeding dogs. They're into the blood. They're into the breed.
They themselves consider
the individual animal.
They themselves consider themselves a member of the wolf pack.
Well, and apologies to any breeders who might not be like that, but I'm sorry, I haven't found a one yet. Not that I've talked to a ton of them, but I've met plenty of dog breeders in my life, and it's weird to me. It's just like, you're not into your actual animals like I am. Like, the animal has personality. The animal has an interaction with me. There's an intertwining with me.
It's a different level.
It's a business. It's a show thing. It's a hobby. It's a lifestyle. Watch the great Christopher Guest movie, Best of Show. You'll see.
Right. It's not.
Makes more than one allusion to that.
It's not far off. It's funny that we mentioned this. My dad bought a German Shepherd from a breeder in the Seattle area. And we went to the house, and, we pull up to the gates, and there's these like giant German Shepherd, like monogram, like symbols on the gate. And I mean, like, it's like you're entering Das Haven Haas of the German Shepherd breeding world. And so, after we met this lady, she had to go get some papers at her mom's house, who also just happens to be a breeder. And so then, of course, we have this experience of, oh, wow, now we're really in the club. We get to go see somebody else's place that's also a dog breeder. And we go to the backyard, and literally there had to have been 40 German Shepherds in this backyard that were just like pacing in the backyard. They had all these individual like areas that they were running in, and it was just like it was just dog heaven, I guess, or hell, whatever you want to look at it. And of course, then the father of the woman that we're buying the German Shepherd from, we're like, wow, yeah, a lot of German Shepherds here. So, what's your thing? I mean, he's Father Time. He's sitting there in this recliner, and we're like, so what's your gig? Well, he's a world-class Dorset Hound breeder. So yeah, he didn't want to have anything to do with the German Shepherds. He's a Dorset Hound breeder. Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I had a purebred dog once that my ex-wife and I purchased from a breeder, and the red flags, there were more red flags than there are on a mini golf course to mark the holes going up. And of course, it's blinders, the blinkers are on because it's just, you want the dog, you want the animal because you're seeing the sweet, cuddly, soft, cute rolling around. But this animal did not acclimate to our home environment at all. Had to give the dog back. Bit hell out of both of us multiple times. Caused some pretty significant injuries to her. And that was just the end of it. I mean, and it wasn't the dog's fault. That was the thing. I mean, I could clearly see the dog was frustrated as all get out. The dog was like, what do you want me to do? Because it just wasn't used to being a pet. It wasn't used to being treated like, oh, hey, come here, Snoochie Coochie, oh, you should get up here and see Daddy, that whole thing that we do with our animals when we love on them. And then, of course, when they're raised that way, they're used to that. That's what they know. But this animal was, das, nein, so, and then in the crate, out of the crate, and fucking, it was just on it too. And you could tell there was an air around that dog where if it didn't follow the orders that it was given, the few deliberate instructions that it was given by the two of us, oh fuck, it had this look like, oh shit, okay, here I am, I'm sitting, good, oh god, avoid the beating. That woman was not nice to her animals.
Oh, no.
And it was clear as day. And the thing is that when the animal was returned, it became vastly more clear than it was in the outset, because again, the blinders had come off, because it was like, well, there's no attachment emotionally to the dog. There isn't going to be. It bit hell out of both of us. It's like, it's kind of hard to establish a measure of trust with an animal when it's injuring you like that. And again, it's not the dog's fault. It's just, a lot of people just like, well, why don't you sell it? It's an expensive dog. It was a show winner. It literally was a show winning Pembroke Welsh Corgi that we had on our hands here. And we had him altered, of course, because it was part of the contract that we would breed him. I have no interest in breeding a dog. I don't do that shit. So the dog was altered, but still people were like, why don't you sell him? Still a really nice dog. Somebody want him. He's got a lot of life left. You think, can't do that. It's going to happen to somebody else, and they're not going to be as polite. I can see that dog being brutalized by some asshole man like I used to live next door to. Like when my other dog, who was just sweet, my sister would babysit her, and my sister was an addict and didn't have the best judgment when it came to many things. So she'd go out on our porch and smoke at 3 a.m. and let the dog out. And of course, the dog at first thing, run out, sit right in the middle of the front yard and start barking over and over and over, just incessantly. And then my neighbor's like, I get back from vacation and my neighbor's like, that fucking dog barked so many fucking times. And here comes the F-bomb trail. I'm like, okay, well, I'm very sorry that happened. And I tried to explain to him. He said, you know what I do? If that were my dog, yeah, that dog would be 6 feet in the ground. That was the end of our relationship. As I was like, I'm not going to murder my dog for the sake of inconveniencing you, sir.
Easy
so have a good
there,
day.
Vinny.
We're done. So yeah, knowing how people are with their animals, there's no way that I could have capitalized monetarily or even given the dog away to someone. It had to go back to where it was used to, because it was the only place where this dog was going to be happy. That was crystal clear. But anyway, going back to the wild animals, not a good idea, but also not surprising that we're going to head down this road. And I just wonder how long it's going to take us to get to Velociraptor, because it can't be far.
Yeah, sky's the limit, right?
If we jumped from a clandestine sheep that was rolled out whenever that was, 15 or 20 years ago, to a wolf in just that stretch of time, and then the next chatter is about the woolly mammoth. Well,
right.
I mean, T-Rex is knocking very, very soon. So,
what animal that is extinct would you like to bring back into existence if you could?
Art Carney.
I'm sorry?
I mean, he's an actor. He died some years ago. Art Carney. None of them. None. I mean, okay, I get what you're saying. Not under the pretenses that we have before us. Not under the tinkering routine. If the animal just wandered out of a bush one day and was like, hey, what the hell's everybody been doing? What are you up to? Like, oh my God, there's one left. Get it. Hurry, grab it. There's one left.
Let me rephrase the question. What thing that maybe was invented by Hostess or discontinued by Hostess would you ever want to bring back into existence?
Let's go over our choices, shall we?
Okay, so you've got a list. You've got a list of these things.
Even though in my head, even though I never touch the stuff, I am a fan. So here's the thing. We have to start here so you understand, because we know Jack hates like all things corporate and corporate engineering. All right. But the thing is, corporate spawns, and I'm not talking about Flo or the Geico fucking lizard. Those things are evil to the core and they can die a horrible death. Not insurance companies, but food companies are off the hook. I mean, other companies that make characters. So these characters, they don't know what they're getting born into. It's kind of like getting born into a horrible family. It's like if you were one of the Manson boys, but you never decided to have anybody, you didn't encourage anybody to hack, Sharon Tate to bits, right? Like, or if you're the other Geen child and it's just like, oh yeah, poor, Eddie really went off the rails, but I'm a nice boy, but no one, you're just judged on that fact, right? So it's kind of like this.
We're talking food here.
These are the bastard children of our corporate world, and they are manyfold, and most of them exist on cereal boxes and then Hostess snack cakes, and I love all of them. I love the characters, even though they were specifically designed to peddle products for the sake of profiting. I don't care because they're innocent creations in this regard. I want to hang out with, like Quisp is my best cereal box character, but like I want to hang out with the Monster Cereal Gang. I want to entertain.
But like a product, like what product would you say that you if you could resurrect from the ashes of discontinued products, what would that be?
I'm trying to set this up then, so to say that here's this list of Hostess snack cakes that have been discontinued, and most of them had a mascot attached to them that was created. So we have how many of these? I don't even know what they make. And my Twinkies are still around, and then I'm pretty sure they still make, but all of the characters are gone.
Yeah, like, I don't really remember. The only thing I remember is the little cowboy Twinkie thing, but I think that's like the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, so Twinkie the Kid is the principal. He's kind of like the leader, the de facto leader. Everybody seems to know him. And then you had King Ding Dong, and he was a ding dong that was anthropomorphic with a little scepter and these so King Ding Dong. You had Captain Cupcake. You had Happy Ho Ho, who was like what do they call those people in the forest that rob people? There's a specific word, like Robin Hood is and I'm blanking on the word like I always seem to when the moment is here. I know the word, but anyway, he's one of those guys. He's got a quiver of arrows and a bow, and he's got a little Robin Hood hat. So he's that. And then there were some more obscure ones,
like a robber baron.
Also, well, yeah, but there's an actual word for it. Like brigand, I think is what you call them.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they're brigands. I can check. I'll look on my phone as we're chatting here. So then there's Chauncey Chocodile, and Chocodiles have a whole history unto themselves. So, that's like a whole different thing. But there's Chauncey Chocodile. Yes, it's a brigand. I'm correct about that. It just took my old aging brain 20 seconds to think of it. So Chauncey Chocodile, and then there's Susie Q. Actually, Susie Q's had a mascot. She was like a cheerleader, but she's very obscure. I haven't been able to find out much about her at all. And then my favorite of all time is, even though I don't like like stage magicians, as we've talked about, because they're just full of fakery. I like Fruit Pie the Magician. He's my favorite character. And then they had Chief Big Wheel too. I forgot about him, but he was discontinued years ago because he's culturally inappropriate now, because he's a big orange flavored ding dong with a headrest and a hatchet.
Do you think
and a Jewish nose?
Do you think he was discontinued because of his appearance, or do you think he was discontinued because of the orange everlasting flavor that he essenced into the palate?
Yeah, it was the cake flavor. It had nothing to do with the box back in those days. They didn't pull products because whatever was on the package was cultural appropriation. It didn't have anything to do with it.
Can you imagine the scene of the Mad Men sitting in the corporate boardroom when somebody would say, "Sir, we have to cancel Chief Big Wheel"? They would have first dropped their cigarettes from their hands, and they would have been like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Actually, it'd probably just be funny how striking it was to hear them talk about him so seriously, along with, because it wasn't the product is Big Wheels, so that was the cake, but Chief Big Wheel was the mascot. So look him up online. He's a piece of cultural Americana. So as far as what I would have them bring back that they no longer make,
and he's vitamin fortified too. You have to mention all of them. You have to mention that he's vitamin fortified.
All of them were heavily vitamin fortified, like so fortified. Like I even remember when this happened, I mentioned this to somebody not too long ago. It wasn't the other day, but it was not too long ago. And they looked at me like, "You're crazy. You're making this up." And I'm not. I remember when Frosted Flakes were fortified with so much iron that you could pick them up with a magnet. You really could pick them up with a magnet. They were fortified with so much iron. But
that's precious.
And the thing is, it is precious because iron is a very difficult mineral to get into your diet. So to have our friends at Kellogg's fortifying Frosted Flakes, these delicious,
they're doing us a favor, right?
Sweetened corn. Yeah. I mean, so now we're talking about not what animal, but what product I would want to resurrect.
Yeah. Like even just like a snack food.
So the thing is I think most of them are going to be products that I would no longer touch with
just
10-foot tongue.
You can only choose one. What would you resurrect? These
are things that I would have wanted to come back shortly after they disappeared, at least.
Just one thing.
I'm thinking of several. Tato skins, Keebler soft batch cookies.
Yeah, you have to pick just one.
Strawberry honeycomb.
Just one. You're going to the desert island and you can only choose one. What one thing would you resurrect from the canceled corporate snack world?
Man, I'd have to think about that for a while.
I'll give you mine.
You obviously know yours. You're sitting on it, so tell us.
Crystal Pepsi.
Oh, you had a can of that on your desk.
Crystal
when I used to work with you.
Pepsi. That is the one thing that I would bring back. And if they made it diet, now that I'm over the age of 40, even better. Because those things had 64 grams of sugar. 64 grams of sugar.
So that's why you'd want them to bring it back, so you can get that much sugar in your
diet? No. I'd want them to bring it back because I loved the flavor. And if they made it like, now that they have all these like synthetic sugars that are like non-calorie, why couldn't they make one with 0 sugar? So Crystal Pepsi with 0 sugar. You get the flavor without the sugar.
Didn't it just taste like Pepsi, though? Like, it's just clear?
It kind of had a different flavor. The only thing that I've run across recently that tastes anything like it is this. It's like this Canadian pop called Stevia.
Oh, well, Stevia is a sweetener that they use in natural sweetener.
But there's a Stevia pop that is clear, and it tastes very much like Crystal Pepsi.
Oh, I didn't realize there was. I'm not finding it in a quick search. Zevia, I've seen.
Zevia, that's what it is. Zevia.
Yeah, okay,
Zevia.
Yeah, I've seen those sitting around your place before. You drink those.
Yeah, Zevia, it's a clear one, and it comes in a blue can, and that is the only thing that I've found that tastes similar to Crystal Pepsi. But I remember when they rebooted Crystal Pepsi, I, of course, had to get a half rack of that from my local distributor that I happen to know so well. And he gave me the half rack of Crystal Pepsi. It was a beautiful day. And then, of course, I looked on the back, and it said 300 calories, 64 grams of sugar. And I was like, no wonder this was discontinued. All of the fans are dead now.
Yes. It's a question I still get to this day. Where were you when the reboot of Crystal Pepsi occurred officially?
Yeah.
I'll never forget where I was. I know that.
Or where were you when
line.
you found out that Crystal Pepsi was canceled?
Oh, gosh, an even
I was a
more
fan.
dubious day in the history of the
I was
world.
such a fan
Like,
of that in the 80s. Crystal Pepsi.
I weigh those so often, like, the Hindenburg disaster, the
Absolutely.
cancellation of Crystal Pepsi. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Where were you? Where were you when they canceled Crystal Pepsi? Okay, then I will ask you another question.
Well, you'd have to give me some time on that. I
Okay,
could get
well, I'll
an
give you some
answer for
time.
but I need to brainstorm.
I'll give you some time. And then what kind of a product, if you could take a mashup of products and create a product, what product would that be? And I'll give you my example while you're stewing on this question.
A mashup of a product. You need to be more
Mashup of a
specific. What do you mean?
product. Yes. Okay, here we go. Big Scoop chili cheese Fritos. Why don't they make those?
They don't make those anymore?
Well, they make the Big Scoops, but they don't make Big Scoop chili cheese. They only make regular Big Scoops. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, they're made by the same company. Why wouldn't somebody on a whim, on a Friday night be like, hey, Larry, let's go down to the Frito-Lay down in where are they made? Somewhere in Texas, Plano, Texas. Why wouldn't they go down there and be like, hey, Larry, I got an idea for you, man. We're going to run these Big Scoops through the chili cheese machine and yeehaw. I mean, why wouldn't they do that? And of course, I took the time to craft an email about 15 years ago, and I wrote to the people of Frito-Lay, and I said, now I don't want any credit. I don't want anything at all. I just want you to make these things. Why wouldn't you make them? And of course, I got the boilerplate response, which was, sir, we do not accept unsolicited ideas from the public, but that's a really good idea. I mean, why wouldn't they do that?
These, by the way, I'm officially worried for Michael. These are the lamentings of people who drink brake fluid in the deep south and the backwoods. How come they don't make the chili cheese ones that are this big like that?
Big Scoop chili cheese Fritos. Everybody who I've ever raised that question to, they just immediately go, you're right.
Here is my clearest, most lucid, and most logical explanation for why they don't make, realizing, of course, that I've pondered this nay to this very moment of existence and never wanted to, but on your behalf, I've run this through my own gray matter, my brainy,
the circuits,
my cranial processes are working.
Yeah, the circuits.
Probably because the design of Big Scoop plain Fritos is to likely, although not necessarily, but likely scoop actual chili and cheese into them. And so therefore, why would you need to coat them with a chili cheese flavor when you're going to be dipping them in something that is already the same flavor, although God knows it would never even come close to the artificial crap.
But wouldn't that be amazing? Because they only make those small little ones that kind of...
No, it wouldn't be amazing. You're alone in that one. I'm not going to
I would
put that
love
flag
that.
in the ground. I'm sorry.
I would love that.
Number of Fritos eaten this year, 0. Number last year, 0. Number in the last 10 years,
you're missing out.
0.
Would somebody get this man a bag of Fritos?
I do not eat potato chips, and if I do, they are certainly not from the evil Frito-Lay.
Oh no,
empire.
these aren't potato chips, Jack. These are corn chips. There's a difference.
corn chips. If I eat corn chips, they're from the Mexican restaurant. They're the fresh ones. It's coming. They put them in garbage bins. You seen that back there?
Yeah, I've
seen
wondered.
that in the kitchen before.
I think it's hilarious
just,
that they do that too.
The garbage cans are sterile because they don't actually use them for garbage. They're just where they store the chips, and it's a big receptacle. But it's still very ominous to watch your chips come out of a big plastic fucking garbage can. I've gone in before for an order, because it used to be one of my favorite things to order from a good Mexican restaurant here in town, was just an order of chips and that cabbage salsa. That cabbage salsa that for whatever reason, it's so simple, but you cannot replicate it at home
good.
Because they have some strange altar in the back with some Aztec god that oozes this stuff that they only put a thimble full of on the whole thing. And you're just going, what the fuck is it? I can't find it. Yeah. You never will, because you're not of Aztec origin. You got to get it from the restaurant. Yeah. And so you go in to order it, and you watch them scoop the chips into your bag, and they come from a big plastic garbage can. It's hard for me to process. It's like, okay, I get it. But at the same time, I am eating a large bag of chips that just came from a garbage can. So now I have to get over being as westernized as I sadly am. So, wow.
Have you thought of your answer yet, or are you still stewing on that?
Chili cheese powdered rabbit hole we just went down there.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Well, you'd be thinking about that.
You're calling that a hybrid product?
Yeah, a hybrid product, a mashup.
Oh, I see. But that's almost not even a mashup, because you're just wanting them to dust the things they already make with the stuff that they already make. They just don't make the bigger chips.
Which is why it's so absurd that they don't already have them. I mean, why wouldn't they have them? I would like somebody from Frito-Lay to issue some kind of a statement on why they don't make big scoop chili cheese Fritos. The other thing that's kind of funny about the chili cheese Fritos, and this is my last point that I'll make on this, is that they kind of have this BO kind of smell to them. Isn't it funny how they kind of have that BO smell? Like it's almost like you've been riding around in like an 18-wheeler for too long, and it just kind of has that weird musk, doesn't it?
That's the common sensory attachment to your olfactory telling you, don't eat this. It's not good for you. What the fuck?
I bet Plano, Texas just smells like that right when you drive in. I might have to make a trip to Plano, Texas one of these days.
All right, so I don't know if this is my official choice, but you're making the wheels spin now with potential mashups. So I'll at least give you an idea.
Or is it the big wheels?
No, it's not the big wheels, although those don't sound real good. Did you know also, by the way, that Twinkies were originally banana flavored?
Oh, I could get on board with that.
Yeah, that's true. They were originally banana flavored, and then they just became like sponge cake with the shit inside of them.
Okay.
And look, anybody, and we've talked about this, I want to say before too, but if you missed this episode, a while back, here it is again. If you can't figure out how they get the cream filling in a Twinkie, you should not be having sex with anything that you can impregnate with your own cream filling, okay? Turn the fucking thing over. I swear to God, I've actually been in that conversation with a couple of Lennys that have been in the world before. How do you think they get the cream filling in there? Just like, turn the fucking thing over. Well, they're just these little holes.
They're just dots.
That's how they do it.
That's how they do it, son.
They impregnate it with a 3-pronged instrument at the Twinkie factory. Yeah. No, that's not true. It's like you've just burst the bubble on all of the thaumaturgy, like mythology that surrounded the fucking Twinkie and the cream filling within it. How about this one? How about the NyQuil filled Ferrero Rocher?
Oh, there you go.
There you go. So
then, okay, say that for me one more time.
The mashup is the NyQuil Ferrero Rocher. So the Ferrero Rocher, instead of having that, there's the hazelnuts in there still, of course. Yes. I can't lose that. But instead of having that chocolate ganache shit that's in there, it's NyQuil. And you finally can eat your sweets and feel okay when you have the cold. It's like menthol cigarettes when you're sick. I can smoke these, they're menthol. Because it's so good for you, right? As opposed to the regular cigarettes.
Of course.
Already coming down with emphysema just overnight, right? So, yeah. So that's one idea that comes to mind. There's not enough NyQuil flavored things. We got to, because the mashup world has gotten so outlandish anyway. We need to move into cross hybridizing the medicinal world with the food world, with the food product
Absolutely.
world, because that's the next step. I mean, there's no two ways around it. So I say, pick your poison on this, but like the Sucret's Good Humor Bar, the Sidewalk Sundae, but it also has a throat lozenge at the same time.
Is this kind of like your soapbox for the gummies?
Oh, no, don't get me started on the gummies.
Do they make this in a gummy?
Oh, my God. I'll go off on the gummies. Don't start me. I'm like a cannonball when I get going. Yeah, gummies. I just winded. But see, and maybe there's the real secret right there, is that it's sort of like the take your medicine in a gummy, but it's a chili cheese Frito instead. And so, when you go to, the pharmacy would come alive with pleasure then. They'd have to get a lot more room. But it's just like, I used to take this stuff for high blood pressure. Like I take a very, very minimal dose of a medication called atenolol for high blood pressure. I do not need to eat it in a gummy form personally. I'm fine with a very small tablet that it comes in, washing it down with a nice gulp of water. It works fine for me. But for the rest of Occidental society that's suddenly just entranced with all of this fucking shit food, then maybe here's your mashup. It's like, it's my atenolol, but they dust it on Fritos Big Scoops.
Yes.
That's how I take it now. And it's flavored like chili cheese.
The only problem is I just ate a whole bag of them, so I don't know what kind of effects that's going to have on me.
Oh, I'm feeling myself falling. See, that would be the problem. There'd be more overdoses than you could count if that were the case,
yeah.
Because people would, yeah.
Well, and that's what I was going to say about the
overdose
cough
on the fucking
medicine.
gummies.
I was going to say that about the cough medicine chocolate idea is that, you'd have somebody who'd be like, yeah, no, I just love the taste of these things. And then, he would overdose on cough medicine.
Well, they'd be prescription only, of course, but still, there's ways around that, so. and of course, the greatest invention of the whole thing, well, I can think of two, actually, that, might be the greatest inventions in the whole thing. Obviously, there'd be a new way to take Viagra in a corn dog. And, like, how fitting is that?
Oh.
Right? It's like, because you're not sure whether to eat it or just use it straight up on her. Just like, yeah, you go. So.
Oh, that's terrible. Speaking of toys.
And the other one that comes to mind is, like, what's the most fattening thing that you can think of that you can just go buy, like, at the store? Like, seriously, what has the most fat and calories of anything that you could just go in the grocery store right now
Crisco.
and pull off the shelves?
Crisco.
Well, that's more like a baking ingredient. I'm thinking of more like something that you eat, like
butter.
Okay, I suppose that could work.
Just a cube of butter.
I want to look it up real quick just so I get some 60 unhealthy foods at the grocery store. So they're saying rice-a-roni, Velveeta shells and cheese. Velveeta shells and cheese. That's a good one because there's like
just the whole loaf of Velveeta.
It's just an exorbitant amount of calories and shit in that product. So
yeah,
the Kraft Deluxe or the Velveeta.
Screw the shells. The product. Just the whole loaf thing of just the cheese.
The big thing. Okay. That's what Ozempic comes in. Just to really just bolster the irony of the whole thing, right? It's like, now you can take your Ozempic in delicious cheese log flavor.
Can you imagine if they made a Viagra
We live there,
like a Viagra toothpaste or like a Viagra Velveeta loaf, and you had to eat half of it in order for it to have an effect on you. What kind of a mad scientist world would we live in?
Like I said, I'm surprised we're not already there because the pharmaceutical companies are just as greedy. Hell, they're greedier than all the food companies put together, probably. They're one of the biggest behemoth monsters. They're one of the biggest heads on the beast of the apocalypse that rises from the fucking sea with that's out there. So, Yeah, I'm sure they would love to see the day the FDA signed off on a mashup of, A&W root beer and whatever it is that's, Narcan. So
It kind of reminds me, this conversation reminds me of an experience that I had when I was doing an Amazon return. Can we say Amazon on the podcast? Are we allowed to say that?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, why couldn't we? So I was doing an Amazon return, and one of the reasons why I like going to this UPS store is because it's juxtaposed in the same parking lot as an adult store that sells, and they don't just sell adult toys and accessories. They mainly specialize, and I've heard it's a tasteful store, if you could ever say that about an adult store. It's a very tasteful adult store. But they also specialize in just like the costumes, and it always just kind of, I just chuckle every time I see we're getting near St. Patrick's Day, or we're getting near Valentine's Day. That's a big one. Or today it was the Easter Bunny that happened to be making an appearance in the window of the adult store, and all of the accessories that. It's always the female accessories, as if men don't walk into those stores and buy them for themselves, which I guess would be kind of maybe a whole nother store. But so it's always just kind of funny to see all of the window dressings that they have in this store. And I wanted to ask you, did you ever date anyone that had like multiple costumes? I mean, are there people who buy a costume for each holiday?
So I think first it needs to be said this is one of the moving indicators for the complete downfall of civilization and humanity.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's the downfall of this episode.
Well, maybe this episode too, for all we know, but because there was, a thankful time when women essentially didn't want to have sex at all. It was just foisted upon them by men, and for whatever reason, they relented. This goes back to cavewoman times when they were bashed over the head with sticks and dragged back to the cave. And flash forward, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 years later, and it's not any different when we're talking about things that used to happen in the 1800s, really. And then all of a sudden, one sexual whirlwind revolution comes around in the 1960s, and then give it another 50 or 60 years, and suddenly, I want to be fucked by the Easter Bunny. It's just like suddenly there are, husbands or significant others or.
Well, no, she was dressed as the Easter Bunny. She had the rabbit ears on.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, of course it can go both ways. What am I saying? But again, there are paramours in the world that are standing with their lovers on Easter Sunday holding a carrot dressed up like a bunny. And she's ready, man. She's never been as hot in her life. She wants this to happen. So
I always find it ironic that you would buy clothing for something that doesn't require clothing in order to do it. Do you see the irony in that?
I not only see the irony in that, I am sort of the epitome of that, because remember, you're talking to a guy that's never dressed up for Halloween before in his life and probably won't ever do that. So not a big part of the bedroom experience for me, never has been. And so needless to say, probably never will be. Call me stale, old fashioned, what have you, but I think I'm sticking with that. Now, were there hints? Were there even requests for something as minimal as eyeliner? Yes, that happened, but it never actually happened. I didn't go through with it because, come on, I mean, it's just strange to me.
So one of your girlfriends never asked you to dress up like Val Kilmer in Top Gun or anything like that?
Nope, never been asked to portray someone else, never been told, here, throw in this suit before, no, thankfully, none of that. None of that. And I know what your next question is going to be. Okay, Jack, if that had ever happened, who do you want to be asked to dress up like, right?
No, I would say, now what do you think they would do if you brought in a bag of Big Scoop chili cheese Fritos into the bedroom?
I think I would call you immediately. I'd just be like, sex is canceled. I got to call Michael and tell him what you just found. which probably came from Canada, right? Because they must make them there.
We're gonna put this chili. We're gonna inject this chili cheese powder into our bedroom routine.
You know what? You started this, so now I'm going to put it back on you. So that is my question for you. If that happens to you with your significant other, and you have to dress up like something in order to get it, what do you want to dress up like?
Big scoop chili cheese Fritos.
Like? You're going to dress up like a big Frito? Okay, I'm thinking just from a practical stance, bad choice. Because first of all, limited mobility. You have no, how are you going to move?
It's very rigid. Yeah, it's very rigid.
She's going to lie in your corny hammock, basically.
Maybe that's the point.
Right?
Maybe that's the point.
Oh, you don't have to work for once, right? Okay, maybe good call after all. Okay.
Did you say corny or?
Yeah, I said corny. Well, they're shaped like a hammock, aren't they? They're a little.
They are. They're kind of they're kind of like concave.
If you were an anthropomorphed Frito Big Scoop, how would you have intercourse? That's the only thing that could happen, is that she'd just come and lie within your corny wave, your bed.
Yeah.
Corn.
I think that's just something that they just create those at the Frito-Lay in Plano, Texas. The stork doesn't have to bring them to the grocery store.
Oh, I've often wondered what the stork thinks about right to life movements, just for what it's worth. Wouldn't you love it if the storks just came down one day? Like a nice, not a really big rally, but a nice size rally, lots of signs.
Like a stork union.
And then all of a sudden this fucking just, a biblical size, I don't know what you call a group of storks, probably a birth, right? So for lack of a better term, because all those groups of animals have a different name because zoologists wanted to be cute. So let's just say a birth, a gestation of storks just comes like something from Hitchcock, just thousands of them. And they just rain down on these fucking people and go, we have a bone to pick with you. You don't decide shit. We drop these kids off down chimneys over the world. Come on now. We all know the truth here.
Oh, that'd be great.
If only that were true. Do you know how many cases of psychoses that would probably cure the world over, to be able to look? Psychologists could look their patients in the eye and go, well, John and Emily, it turns out, after all, your parents did not have sex to conceive you. It was the stork, after all. Oh, psychology would go bust. They'd go out of business. Nobody would have, because we know that's the true thing that starts us down the road to the couch. Is that right there? Is the realization that I was conceived by these two mutants who actually had sexual intercourse. And from there, it's a downhill ride.
Don't you love how you can almost know when they're going to start singing on some of these songs? Timing wise, you just know. Am I the only one that does that, or do you experience that as well?
No, that's why I like highly predictable music, so I can know right when they're going to start singing.
What are we listening to today?
This is an oldie but a goodie from Canada. This is Luba.
All right, until we meet again.
All right, sounds good. I want to see that Frito costume down here the next time.
Yeah, I'll see about that.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own existence brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.